I go really fast. I have 150 slides to do in 45 minutes. I'm trying to pack in as much information as I can. If you're taking notes, don't feel like you have to keep up because we're happy to give you guys the slides later. So I don't want you to like kill yourself trying to write notes. If you are writing notes and you see a link throughout the presentation, I'm going to have links to the side on the bottom right-hand corner to additional information and videos where you can learn more about a particular topic. If you're writing notes and you're someone that writes in all caps, make sure you write the links in lowercase because they are case sensitive. So today we're doing the Fast and Furious guide to SEO for used car dealers. My name is Greg. I am the Vice President of Search at SearchLab Digital. I've been doing SEO for car dealers for about 15 years now. I do a weekly video series called Local Search Tuesdays. That's the address for our blog right there. You can check these videos out for free. You don't have to give us any lead information. They're just there to truly be helpful. It's nothing else other than I want to help you guys be better at showing up online. So make sure you check those out. They come out every Tuesday. And also, I speak at a lot of conferences. In fact, last year when COVID hit in March, even though it was only the beginning of the year, I already had 28 conferences booked in 8 different countries because I'm one of the top speakers in SEO in the entire world. So I get to see a lot of presentations because I go to so many conferences. And unfortunately, a lot of the presenters aren't that good. We've got a podium in here so I can give you the example. Typically, these digital marketing guys are smart and they give you good stuff about how to get your website to show up, but they are not really engaging to watch. So they're going to stand locked behind the podium the entire time. And usually at these digital marketing conferences, it's a big giant screen behind the person, right? But then the person's going to stand there with their back to the crowd the whole time, and they just read their slides. And that's boring, right? You guys don't want that. Yes? No? I'll stand here and do it if you want. No? Okay, cool, because that's not my style. And even worse, most of the time, the background of their slide is just plain white, and it's black Arial font, and all they have is a bunch of bullet points. And they just read bullet point after bullet point after bullet point, and that's super boring. And because of that, I firmly believe that bullet points kill kittens. So today's presentation is going to be entirely kitten safe. And you saw the Fast and the Furious thing at the beginning. Everybody that saw me yesterday already knows I'm a movie nut. For those of you that didn't see me yesterday and haven't seen me speak before, I was a film major in college. I love movies. I'm obsessed with movies. In fact, my entire arm is sleeved up with movie portrait tattoos. My entire right leg is sleeved with everything from the Goonies. I've started working on my left arm. Every time I do a presentation, I love to share my love of movies along with my love of SEO. So today's theme is car movies. Any movie where cars played a significant role in the plot of the movie. And one of the things that I do is I include at least one movie for every year in the last 50 years. But today, we have to go further. Today, we are going back, what is it? 59 years. It's 2021, it's changed, it's weird. I haven't spoken a lot because of COVID, but anyway, I have to go back 59 years today so that we can have every James Bond movie in there, because for those of you in the back that can't see, I have Sean Connery tattooed on my arm. I'm the world's biggest James Bond fan. So we've got all the James Bond movies in there. I know there's going to be some obscure stuff in here, especially for the younger people that they haven't seen everything. So there's always attribution to the side of every slide, and at the end, there's a whole list of all the movies in order of release date. So not only will you learn a lot of stuff today about how to get your sites to show up better when people search for them, you're going to have a cool movie watch list to go watch some cool car movies. Everybody ready? Are we pumped? Who's excited? Why the long face? Are you spending too much time looking up at other dealerships that rank higher in local search results? Whoops. Clickers. It's doing it again. It was doing it yesterday. Are you wondering, dude, where's my website? Why aren't my competitors showing up higher? In fact, sometimes you might feel like you're hanging on. Golly, this is weird. You're hanging on for dear life because you feel like your competitors are overtaking you and you're losing your visibility. And in that case, sometimes if you really drop a lot and your competitors show up more, you feel like you're getting murdered. I'm just going to have to stand here and do this again. You feel like you're getting murdered by your competitors. But today, I'm going to give you a peek underneath Google's hood so that you'll understand how Google's algorithm works. In fact, today I have a lot of tips that are for your eyes only. Get it? James Bond joke? For your eyes only? Come on, guys. That's funny stuff. So I'm going to show you how to get your sites to jump out and grab attention so that customers will find you when they're doing local searches. And just like a fat guy in a little coat, I'm going to squeeze in a ton of stuff because I'm on slide 13 out of 150. You guys ready for this? I always do the funny intro stuff because I like to catch people at the beginning. So I've been helping dealers with SEO. In another month, it'll be 15 years I've been doing SEO for car dealers. From way back in the early days of the internet. I started out working at a company called AutoRevo that does websites for car dealers. So I have my home with independents. Independents and buy here, pay here's, that's where I started. I know how to rock that stuff. You can totally dominate local search results. You can even beat the franchise guys if you do SEO. It doesn't matter that those are the franchise guys with all the co-op money and all the money to spend and all the stuff to do, and they do all the extra stuff. Independent guys can out SEO the franchise guys. The problem is most used car dealers don't do any SEO. They don't do anything to help their site show up better in searches. So I'm going to talk about it today. I'm going to tell you guys exactly what you need to do so that if you're doing your own SEO, you're going to have a playbook, and you'll be able to do your own SEO. Or if you don't have time to do it and you have to hire a partner to do it for you, you're going to know enough about how it works that now you'll be able to choose vendors that will actually help you. Because a lot of times vendors are going to blow smoke and it's going to sound all exciting and it's going to sound technical and you're going to think, okay, well, cool, yeah, this is great, I'll do this. But I'm going to help you guys today because this is your most important marketing channel. More than anything else you do, SEO is important because every person that's going to buy a car is going to start by looking on Google for where they want to do that. In most markets, customers do not use the third-party sites. They're not going to AutoTrader. Now, yes, in some markets it still holds true. But AutoTrader, Cars.com, Car Gurus, people are only going to those sites if they want something very, very, very specific that they cannot find in their local market. Most people still want to go to a dealership, sit in the car, feel the car, touch the car, drive the car, smell the car before they buy it. And every time I say this at a convention, car dealers are like, that's not true. TikTok's awesome. Yeah, TikTok's great to share your personality. But some kid that's buying their first car is not going to buy a car right off of TikTok. They're still going to come look at your website after they see you on TikTok or Facebook or wherever it is. So you have to have an awesome website experience. Customers want to buy from somebody local. They do not want to go somewhere else, especially with COVID. COVID has drastically changed consumer behavior at a fundamental level, and customers want to buy from a local dealership that is nearby. In today's world, if you are not showing up when customers are searching, you are going to lose. Your competitors are going to get those customers. You are trying to beat every dealership in your market. The franchise guys don't really care about you guys because they think they've got you beat. But you're fighting not only the other independents in town, but the franchise guys as well. So you can't just go, oh, well, I've got to beat the 5 big new car dealerships in town. No, you got to beat the 30 or 40 total dealerships that are in your market to capture these customers. So SEO is really important. Golly, this is weird. We know that customers are going to shop around. Customers do not get on Google, do a search, go to the first dealership they find, and buy a car from that dealership. They're going to spend multiple visits to multiple websites to figure out where they're going to buy that car, so you have to have an awesome site. To show up in Google, Google is going to display search results according to what Google determines is the best answer to the question that the searcher is asking. So when I sit down and type something in, Google's going to try to figure out the intent of what I'm asking, and it's going to give me the best answer to the question. So that means as a dealership, the content on your site needs to be informational and be the best answer of all of the dealerships in the area if you want to show up. But you also have to have an awesome website experience because like I just said a minute ago, people are shopping around. They're looking at multiple sites. Even if you have the best answer, they're not going to just buy from you because I just told you they're not buying from the first site they go to. They're going to multiple sites. If they're looking at your competitors, even if you show up high in Google and you're number one, they're still going to look at your competitors. And if your competitors have a cooler website and more personality and better information, they're still going to buy from your competitor. And here's the thing. SEO is not cheap. People sell SEO for cheap, but I'm going to tell you right now, and this is not me trying to sell you something, because again, my main goal here is not to sell you SEO. Yeah, I have a booth. I'm over there. If you guys are busy and you don't want to handle it yourself, I'm happy to talk to you about how we can help you. But my main goal here is to help you learn how to do it yourself so you don't have to outsource it. I was telling somebody this at dinner last night. I just saw him walk in. I don't know where he went. But I was we were talking at dinner last night. He started leaning in saying, I'm listening. I said, that's okay. Because what did I tell people last night? If I was a dealer, what would I do? Yell it out. It's okay. Yeah, if I was a dealer, I wouldn't hire somebody to do SEO. I'd have somebody in-house doing it. Because why have somebody that's spending a little bit of time every month, even if it's effective, when I can have somebody on my staff that's full-time? The problem is somebody on your staff, it can't be somebody that does other stuff. It's got to be their entire full-time job. All they're doing 40, 50 hours a week is SEO. So when you're hiring somebody to do SEO, or you got somebody in-house, or you're hiring a vendor, you got to understand SEO ain't cheap. And I was telling them at dinner last night, if you're hiring that person to do it at your dealership, bare minimum, that's a $75,000, $80,000 a year position. If you're hiring somebody like us to do your SEO, yeah, there's a bunch of people out there that are going to do it for $400 or $500 a month. You are burning money. You're better off not doing SEO than spending $400 or $500 a month. And this is not, again, me trying to sell you something. I say this to everybody all over the world, and I speak all over the world. You cannot get good SEO for less than about $2,500 a month. It's not like an attorney where you're paying every time you do something, but you need to think of it the same way. There's a bucket of hours because SEO is butts in seats doing work. You're not paying for software. You're paying for a human being or a couple of human beings sitting there doing work. So you got to stop shopping for the cheapest option. It's not that hard, but it takes a lot of time. It's very time consuming, and you have to keep up with what Google does because Google is always changing. And Google's not changing to screw us over. Google is changing because it wants the search results to be the best possible search results. But it's not altruistic. Why does Google want the best possible search results? Because Google makes ridiculous amounts of money off ads. And if the search results that are not ads start to suck, what are we going to do? We're going to start using other search engines, and Google starts losing money. So Google has a very vested interest in itself to make sure that the sites that show up for free are the ones that deserve to be there. And SEO is not something you do for a little bit of time and stop. It's a never-ending battle. It's king of the hill. Because once you get to the top, you can't say, cool, I'm at the top, I'm done. Because as soon as you stop pushing those signals out to Google, your competitors are pushing those signals out, and there's nowhere for you to go but down. So you got to keep going. If you stop optimizing, you will go down. Maybe not immediately, but within a month or two, you're going to start to drop. And then you're going to have to claw your way back to the top. Think of it like you're owning a car. And it's kind of funny. I use this example all the time. It seems like I'm pandering today, but I'm not because I'm pandering with the car slides, you know. But it's like you buy a car and you pay off the car, but it doesn't mean that that car doesn't cost you any money. You still got to put gas in the car for the car to work. You still got to change your fluids. You got to have windshield wipers. You got to have a battery. You got to do oil changes. You got to continue to spend money on that car even when it's paid off. SEO is the same way. You got to keep putting in effort. Another big thing is a lot of people all over the world in every industry, when they're talking about SEO, all they care about is how do I rank for a couple of keywords? Don't worry about that. Keywords don't tie into your bottom line. You judge the success of your marketing spend by, is your business growing? Are you getting more traffic to your website? Are you getting more leads? Also, the big problem with rank tracking is not a realistic view of how people see your site. Because we're going to talk about local SEO today. When we're looking for car dealerships that's showing stuff in the local area, and Google's going to display stuff based on your physical location when you do that search. That rank tracker is some computer on some server somewhere that is not actually in your town. It doesn't show realistic stuff. And here's the crazy thing. I worked with dealers for a long time. When you search for terms and you're checking how your dealership shows up and you're doing it at the office, the proximity is 0. You are searching from the location that is the best, closest location to you. But if you live 45 minutes away and you drive home and do that same search, all of a sudden you're not showing up number 1 anymore. And I get phone calls from dealers going, holy crap, man, what happened? My SEO isn't working anymore. And I'm like, no, man, calm down. You're searching from home. You're 45 minutes away. There's closer stuff to your house, and that's why Google's showing you other stuff. Successful SEO traffic needs to tie, or successful SEO needs to tie into your bottom line. More traffic, more leads. That's how you judge success. Also, don't worry about near me searches. A lot of businesses want to show up for used car dealer near me. You can't optimize for that. As soon as you say near me, that is telling Google, I want the closest thing to me, not the best used car dealership. I want the car dealership that's closest to my physical location when I'm doing that search. So don't obsess about it, because unless you want to put your dealership on a flatbed truck and drive it around so that you can move to be closer to everybody that searches, you can't optimize for that. Plus, customers don't search that way. People started searching that way 4 or 5 years ago, but now people understand if you're doing a search on a mobile device, You're automatically going to get results next to your current location, so customers don't search that way. And if they do search that way, again, it's because they want something nearby. Most used car dealerships don't have the franchise model where you've got a huge management team and you've got a marketing manager or an internet manager or somebody to handle SEO. Most of you are doing a lot of things and wearing a lot of hats. If you do have someone in-house, like I said, I'm going to show you exactly what to do. If you don't, this clicker is driving me crazy. If you're working with a vendor, you're going to know exactly what to look for and what that vendor should be doing for you if your money is being well spent. Keep in mind, there are no silver bullets when it comes to SEO. I'm going to talk about a lot of different things here. I got plenty of time here. I got like 45 minutes. I'm going to finish early in case you guys have questions or we want to talk about tattoos. But I'm going to talk about a lot of different signals today. It's not something that you can say, oh, he talked about reviews. Let's go home and let's just worry about reviews. You can't do that. It's not one or two signals that matter. It's all the signals that I talk about, all working in conjunction to send the right pattern to Google so that your sites are going to show up better. SEO works because of all of those signals together over a long period of time. You can't just go home and do this because you guys have been to conferences before. You know how it is. You get fired up. You get that conference high. And you get home and you're like, man, I'm going to do all the stuff I learned about. And 2 months later, you're not doing any of it because you got busy and you fell back into old habits. You can't do that with SEO. You have to keep doing it forever. I like to boil things down to simple concepts. If we're thinking of Google, the simplest concept of Google is a very advanced program that just looks at patterns. That's all Google really does. It's pattern detection. Doing SEO gives you a better pattern than your competitors. You're worried about the signals that Google is seeing so that Google thinks that you're a better answer to the question that searchers are asking for so that you're going to outpace your competitors and get more traffic and sell more cars. Now, when we're talking about SEO, and I know some of you in here, how many people in here, and I will not heckle you on this question. Other questions, you've got to be careful if I ask you a question, ask you to raise your hand, because I might heckle you. This one I won't. How many people in here do not do SEO for their dealership website? It's okay if you don't. All right. When you go to talk about SEO at conferences, or you have vendors banging down your doors, or your website vendors talking to you about SEO, they do regular SEO. Also, go watch my website series, because every time I do air quotes, I do like karate chop sound effects. It's super funny. But they do regular SEO. They do traditional SEO. Today, that's not what we're talking about. Golly, this clicker's killing me. It's so slow. There's something in here. I swear to God, guys, there's something in here that's like interfering, because I tested this over at our booth, and this worked totally fine, and in here it's really slow. What you guys actually need is a more complicated subset that's called local SEO. Because we're talking about, earlier I already told you, Google's showing you stuff in the local area. And most vendors aren't doing that. Most vendors are ignoring a lot of the signals that matter to you. Now, there's overlap. So as long as you're doing SEO from somebody that's not one of those $400 or $500 guys that's just taking your money, but as long as you're doing SEO and they're covering the things that they should be covered, even if it's regular SEO, it's still going to help your dealership some. It's just not going to help your dealership as much as it could. So everybody knows what a Venn diagram is. You have the circles, and the circles overlap, and you can see the overlap of the signals. If I did a Venn diagram of regular SEO compared to local SEO, it looks like this. So if you're paying for SEO from most of the vendors, whether it's an automotive SEO vendor, your website, or it could be a mom and pop shop or an agency that's in your local town, they're probably doing traditional SEO. The green bit in the middle, that overlap, that's what's actually helping you. All the other yellow stuff is stuff that they're doing that doesn't really matter. So if you're spending money on SEO, wouldn't you rather do local SEO, which is the blue one, where 100% of what they're doing is going to help your dealership? And instead of the sliver in the middle, they're also doing all the extra stuff. Wouldn't you rather do that, right? That's why I'm here to teach you about this stuff today. The local algorithm is more complicated because there's additional signals that matter to that algorithm. So you got to understand all these things. It's slow. It's freaking me out here. Sorry, guys. It's throwing me off. What? Whoa! Did you see that? That was really crazy because we just went like way the heck ahead. I'm just going to stand here and click like I did yesterday. It'll be boring. I can't walk around and be cool anymore. But I swear, like we were testing this over across there. I even walked like 15 feet away and it was working fine. And like in here, it doesn't work because something's going on in these rooms. But anyway, whenever I do a search for anything related to car dealerships, whether it's new cars or used cars, Google will automatically localize my results. That's how we know we need local SEO. So don't believe me that I tell you this. You guys can try this yourselves on your phones right now. Actually don't, because you should be listening to me. But you could try it later. You could go and do a search for something and don't include a city, like this search I did. I'm in the north edge of Dallas, Texas. You can't see it in the back, but that's a search that just says used cars. No location information whatsoever. And what does it do? It shows me stuff right by where my physical location was when I did that search. That's how we know we need to do local SEO, because Google's going to do that. When we're talking about the local SEO, we need to talk about how this local algorithm works and where those results are displayed to the people that are searching. So I'm going to show you that. The most important thing that you guys all know about that you can see when you do these searches, it's called the map pack. It's the map with the 3 results underneath it. Again, because I was in Dallas when I did this, you're seeing Dallas stuff. When you see that map pack, that's a very clear indicator that that local algorithm is at play. At the bottom, you can click View All. The map pack's only going to show you 3. You can go beyond the 3. So when you click View All, it takes you to something we call the local finder. Throws the map to the right side, shows you more results down the side there. You can also go directly to Google Maps. So a customer can go straight to Google Maps and do that same search. That's also the local algorithm. But below that map pack, you've got the organic results. Those are localized though. So even though it looks like regular Google results, it's still stuff in the local area. It is hot in here. If you need help understanding how local search works, this is the example I always use. Now, here's where anytime there's a video, there's going to be a little thumbnail down there to let you know, hey, this link goes to a video. So I always talk to dealers like this. If you are at the dealership, and I mentioned this earlier, but I was talking about search for the dealership. If you're at your dealership, sitting in the office, you open up Google, type in only 2 words, pizza delivery. You get a list of the pizza spots by the dealership. Makes perfect sense. But then if you go home, you try the same search with the same 2 words, you get totally different search results. Most people don't think about that because they don't really try this search, but it makes sense because you need pizza delivered from nearby. But if you think about it, you type the exact same 2 words into Google and got different results. How the heck's that happening? That's local SEO at play. So that explains how it works. This video, make sure you go watch this one. I don't have time. Actually, you know what? I got time. We'll talk about this one. You can prove that you need it with simple math. Let's say you're in a town that has 5 franchise guys and 15 independents. That's 20 dealerships in your town trying to show up for used cars. On page 1, we've got 13 possible spots because you got the 3 in the map pack and 10 results. But you're also going to have Auto Trader, Cars.com, Car Gurus, and some crap like that. You take out those aggregators, all the third-party sites. Let's yank them out. That's going to leave us with 7 or 8 possible slots that a dealership can show up in. Remember, there's 20 in this town, but only 8 spots. That means 12 people aren't going to be on page 1. Page 2 only has 10 spots. That means 2 people are going to be all the way back on page 3, where it's a ghost town and nobody's ever going to see them. But that's only if we're in a small town. Some of you guys are in bigger metro areas. And in a bigger metro area, sometimes there's 200, 300, 400 dealerships when you count all the buy here, pay here's, all the independents, all the franchise guys. In Dallas alone, there's 20 Ford dealerships in Dallas, just Ford dealers in Dallas. Dallas is a massive market. There's like 400 and something dealerships in Dallas fighting for the 8 spots on page 1 for used car dealer. That's why you got to be doing SEO, because you're not going to beat all those guys if you're not doing it. So what you need to do is pay attention to a thing that's an almost annual. They skipped one in 2019, but it's an annual study called the Local Search Ranking Factor Study. And what they do is nobody knows exactly what's in Google's algorithm except Google. So they take the top 35 to 40 worldwide experts in local SEO, the people that are doing this stuff day in and day out, and tweaking this and doing that, and they send out this survey about positive factors, negative factors, competitive factors, foundational factors. And I'll tell you, I'm one of those people. I've been one of those people for about 8 years. It takes about 3.5 hours to fill this out. It's very in-depth. And if you were to put 5 different SEO experts into a room and tell them to go optimize your site, they're all going to do it slightly differently, but they're all going to agree on the things that need to be touched, the things that need to be manipulated. So if you do this with these top experts and aggregate all the answers, you get a pretty good idea of the signals that matter for getting your site to show up better in local searches. And the cool thing about this study is They break down the signals into a couple of pie charts to make a whole lot of sense. This is the pie chart that shows you the signals that are for showing up in the map pack. And notice the biggest chunk of the pie is Google My Business. That's because the physical location and the proximity factors live inside of that section. And then this is what it looks like when we're talking about the regular organic listings. Notice the green for Google My Business is a lot smaller. Because here, when we're talking about organic listings where it's not as much about location, it's all about the content on your site and how many other websites are linking to you. So this is like your Bible. This is your guide for SEO. This is how you start holding vendors accountable, because you say, hey, just ask them the question. Hey, do you guys do local SEO? And they're going to be like, oh, yeah, sure. All right, cool. What do you use as your guide? If they don't say the local search ranking factors, man, I'd run for the hills on that one. So I'm going to take you through a lot of these signals here for the rest of the presentation. I'm going to have to start going a little faster, though. Actually, I'm not. I'm kind of on time. We're going to start talking about website content. One of the things that's a big problem is a lot of SEO. Who here really feels like they have a good handle on SEO and they really understand how it works besides me? One person. You can raise your hand. You know what you're talking about. But it's hard, right? It's a lot of people say it's snake oil, it's smoke and mirrors, because there's a lot of bad vendors out there. But even the good vendors, a lot of what happens is behind the scenes. It's in the code on your site. It's the links that other websites point to you. It's your Google My Business. It's the directory listings. It's all these things you can't see. So a lot of SEO vendors take the path of least resistance. And they say, hey, look, I'm going to give you a landing page or a city page or a blog post. And this isn't just car dealers. This is every business. And business owners are like, cool, man, I get that. I need content to show up in Google. Great. So they fall into the cadence of equating SEO with content. Anybody here ever go to like Digital Dealer? Any of the kind of more digital-focused conferences? You'll see vendors that sell their SEO services, and their main selling point is you get 25 pages of content a month. Okay, cool. What's the strategy there? Why? How do you know my dealership needs that? They don't. It's that they sell SEO based off of content. The thing that Google cares about is what I said a couple minutes ago, that you're the best answer to the question. So it's not about how much content you have or how much you add to your site. It's about the quality of that content. How good is that content? Does it make sense when people are reading your site? And it needs to be about your dealership. The website vendors, it's not their job for them to make your content about your dealership. It's your job or your marketing partner's job. It needs to be actually about your dealership. Because remember, your local customers are looking at all your competitors, and if it's the same BS content that's on every site, you don't stand out. And it needs to be about the local area, so you're holding Google's hand, and Google knows, hey, this is where I'm located. You gotta stand out when people find your site. So here's a test that we use. Take your homepage content. Look for a section of content that doesn't include anything, too crazy, but it's got your dealership name and it's got your city. If you could change the name of your dealership and change the city and take that content and put it on a used car dealer's site in Seattle, does the content still work? If it does, that means your content's not really about your dealership, and it's not really about the town that you're located in. It's a really easy test that you can run. So do that and check and see, because a lot of the website vendors are giving you the same content. If you do this and it doesn't work, you probably got that crappy content that they've been giving you. Here's another pro tip. Take your content and read it out loud. And I'm not talking about just think through it in your head. Grab somebody, pull it up, physically say it out loud to them so that you can hear, does it sound conversational? The content on my site needs to sound like something I would say face-to-face to a customer that just walked onto the lot. When you read it out loud, you catch that stuff. And this is in the video too. You can watch it later, because I'm like story guy. It's campfire story time. About 5 years ago, I spoke at a conference. Guy came up to me and said, hey, we got a dealership in Dallas. Can you help us out? And I said, sure. First thing I do is I look at their website. Their website content sounded something like this, I swear to God. If you want to buy a Ford pickup in Dallas, come to our Ford pickup headquarters, where we sell more Ford pickups than any other Ford dealer in Dallas. So when you're ready to buy your Ford pickup, come to our Ford pickup headquarters. We'll say the best Ford pickup and give you the best deal of any dealership that sells Ford pickups. Guy that wrote that was like, holy shit, boss, we're going to rank for Ford pickups in Dallas. Everybody else that reads it, that's a regular human, is like, what is wrong with these guys? So when you read it out loud, you catch that stuff. So again, boiling things down, Google's pattern detection. Google wants the best answer. So if you want to show up as a search result, you need a page about that concept on your site. If somebody's looking for fixed ops and you do service and you want to show up for oil changes, you need an oil change page on your site. Doesn't help to just mention that word one time. If you want to show up for a phrase, you need a page of content on your site that is about that concept. And like I said earlier, it needs to be the best answer to the question that the searcher is asking. And then, once you got that content, you got to optimize it for the local area. Like I said a minute ago, you got to hold Google's hand and make it really obvious what you do so that Google knows what's going on. Google's like a toddler. I love this example because it makes so much sense. Toddlers are really curious. They're just starting to get to where they can explore the world and they understand how stuff works. But they don't know that much about the world yet. Google's the same way. Google's trying to get smarter and trying to figure out the internet and trying to figure out how all these things work. So you got to hold the algorithm's hand and really serve stuff up on a silver platter so Google understands what's going on. So I'm going to walk you through how to optimize your content. Once you've got it written, there are certain pieces of the content that you need to optimize so that you'll show up better for Google. Now, if you're doing this yourself, pay attention. This is how you do it. If you've got a vendor partner that's doing this for you, pay attention. This is how you go look at your website and see if they're just burning your money or if they're actually doing stuff to help you. First thing, most important, most weighted element on the page is the title tag. It's what shows up in the little tab up above where you type in the URL. It's also what populates the blue link when you show up as a search result in Google. You should never put your dealership name first in any title tag anywhere on your site. You're the only dealership named that. You will automatically rank #1 when somebody searches that phrase. Don't waste optimization space to do that. You need your important keyword phrase and your city and potentially state abbreviation. Now, when I say important keyword phrase throughout these elements I'm talking about, make sure it's the same keyword phrase every time. You can't mix it up. But so, title tag, first thing that's most important. Second thing, most important, the H1 heading. Now, H1 is a code designation. But the easy way to think of the H1 heading, it's the big, thick headline at the top of your site. On each page, it talks about what the page is about. It's like a newspaper headline. You should only have one H1 heading on the page. It should be a little bit more conversational than what that title tag is. It should have the same keyword phrase. It should also have the location information in there. We already talked about how you should have all of the stuff in your site about your dealership and about the local area. So having it on your page content, that should be pretty easy. You should be good there. Here's a big one, alt text on images. Now, I've been talking at car dealer conferences for more than 10 years. You even saw me 5 years ago, I would say alt text is important because Google's algorithm can't tell what's in an image, so alt text is in the image embed code and it explains to Google, hey, here's what's in this image. Well, now, Google's machine learning systems can tell you exactly what's in an image. It's really freaky. If you want to really get scared sometime, go look up Google's machine learning image recognition stuff. It will freak you out worse than any horror movie you've ever seen. But it's still in the algorithm, and it's something that nobody else does. I guarantee you, your competitors are not doing this, and most SEOs don't do this. It's a great way to add additional relevancy. The other scary thing about this, ADA compliance. Is anybody blind going to buy a car from you? No, but guess what? Blind people are starting to sue websites that don't have alt text on images because they use a browser that reads the screen, and the browser that's a screen reader can't see what's in an image. And ADA compliance says you should have alt text on your images so that it is compliant. You can actually get sued for not doing this. Anybody in here have franchise stores too? Anybody? This is actually a VW compliance issue. You can get compliance fines from VW if you don't have this. I guarantee you within the next year or two, it's going to roll out to every other manufacturer. The other thing, the URL. Every system out there allows you to set custom URLs. So most dealerships, the inventory page is going to be dealership.com/inventory or dealership.com/search used. You'd be much better off with dealership.com/used-cars-myrtle-beach. Always use dashes to separate your words. And then the final one, the meta description. This does not matter for the ranking algorithm, so don't worry about trying to squeeze keywords into this. But you do need your important keyword phrase in your city because the meta description is behind the scenes, but it's what populates those couple of gray sentences underneath your blue link when you show up in Google. So you need to approach it like a Google ad. You'll want to write something compelling. So when you show up as a search result, that potential customer goes, oh, okay, cool, I'm going to click on that. That's exactly what I'm looking for. When you're optimizing and doing this keyword stuff, you need to do keyword research. Or make sure that your vendor's doing keyword research. Because the big problem is most of us have blinders on. We've been in automotive for years. So we have ways of talking about stuff that we all understand, but the general public doesn't use the same jargon. You've got to optimize your site for how people are searching, not for what you call it. My favorite example here, we all love to say that we sell pre-owned vehicles because it sounds nicer, right? But guess what? Customers don't search for pre-owned vehicles. Customers search for used cars. If I use Google's own AdWords keyword preview tool, in the entire United States, there is an average of 2,900 searches a month for pre-owned vehicles. And that also includes pre-owned as one word or pre-owned. So all three of those together, lumped together, 2,900 searches a month. 823,000 searches a month for used cars. Which one do you want to go for, right? You want to go for how people are searching. You need to have a blog. A blog is no longer a luxury, and a lot of used car dealers don't have a blog. Most used car dealers out there have a home page and a bunch of inventory and a contact page, and that's it. And they wonder why they don't show up in searches. You gotta have a blog, because there's a difference in the kinds of content you want to put out there. The content that goes on the main part of your site is about selling cars. The content that goes on your blog is about educating your customers. Here's how to change your own oil. Here's how to know if you need new tires. That's not content that goes on the main part of your site, but it's still important for SEO. So you got to have that blog. And you want to make your blog a local destination. You don't have to talk all about yourself because people aren't going to care. You want to talk about stuff in the local area that has nothing to do with your dealership, and that's a scary concept, and people freak out about that. But I like to equate it to a billboard. If you're only putting stuff on your site that's about selling cars, then that's only going to show up if somebody's looking to buy a car. And in any market, no matter how small or how big, there's a whole lot of people in your market that are not looking to buy a car right now, and you're not going to show up to them. But if you've got awesome, useful, helpful, relevant information about the local area, you'll show up for that. So it's like putting up a billboard on the freeway that somebody drives by every day. They don't need a car right now, but guess what? 2 months from now, they get in a crash, they total their car, they got to buy a new car. But they've seen your cool billboard with some personality. You got a better chance of capturing that customer because they know about you already. That's why we want to have that localized content. In fact, for the dealers that we work with, we do weekly blog posts. So every week you're going to get a blog post. Every other week, literally half of the content we give your dealership has nothing to do with selling cars or even with being a car dealership. It's that important, and that stuff really works. If you need some ideas, and you're like, geez, man, what do we write about? Like, I don't even know what I would do there, right? There's got to be somebody in here thinking that. Well, I've got the answer for you right there. There's a video that's got 10 ideas that you can use as a springboard of ideas of things that you can write about in the local area that still makes sense to put on a car dealership's website that'll help you show up better. Here's the other thing. A lot of dealerships are in the suburbs, but they want to show up when people are searching the main metro area. So they only care about trying to optimize for the main metro area. But you've got to own your backyard first. If your SEO is not good enough to be the #1 or the #2 dealership in the town where your actual address is, there's no way you're going to beat the other dealerships when you're trying to compete with a lot more dealerships. So make sure you own your backyard first. Now let's talk about links. Links from other websites pointed to your dealership site are one of the most weighted things in Google's algorithm. Google sees those links as like votes that you've got awesome content. The problem is, most people don't even care or know about this, and they don't do anything with it. Now, links used to be a numbers game. We got a little bit of time. I'm gonna tell a fun story. There was an update that came out in 2013 called the Penguin Update. Google used to only care about how many links you had. It didn't matter where they came from. But Google realized real quickly that they should probably be relevant to your business. That would make more sense. About a month after that update came out, I spoke at a conference, and a car dealer saw me and said, man, you got to help me out. Small town in New Jersey, only 5 dealerships in town. So no matter what, he should be showing up. And you couldn't even find him if you Googled his name. And he's like, I'm using it. And he was using a very big, very well-known automotive SEO provider. They couldn't figure it out either. And he said, man, I saw you. Can you help me out? And I said, sure, this update just came out. Let's check it out. Most car dealerships, if they're not doing SEO, will have maybe 50 sites linking to them. If you've been doing SEO, maybe 100. If you've been doing SEO for a long time, maybe a couple hundred. This guy had 6,500 different websites linking to his dealership site in New Jersey. Small town, 5 dealerships. Totally not natural, right? So I used a tool to see where those links were coming from. 6,500 links, 6,400 of them were from Russian porn sites. because it used to be a numbers game, so his SEO guy was just going out and buying a bunch of cheap links. It took 11 months to get that guy to show back up in Google again. So you got to make sure you're getting the right kind of links. Those links have to be relevant. They have to have a reason to link to you. Or those links need to come from businesses in your local area. So they either need to be related to automotive or they need to be related to your local area. If you get involved in the local community, it's easy to get links, which guess what? Car dealers are already philanthropic and super involved in the community, which means it's super easy for car dealers to get links. So the problem is doing link building is really hard. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, which is why a lot of people don't do it. So typically, you're going to have an SEO partner to help you out because it's just pretty advanced. It's going to be really tough for you to do. But if you got somebody in-house, you want to do it yourself, I did a presentation, or I did a video here that talks about, here's some ideas, here's some things you can do. You can go watch that video, get some ideas of some stuff that you can do. You want to make sure that you follow up and ask those people to link to you. So now we got to talk about reviews. I got to go a little faster so we don't run. Wait, I was 2:45, right? So I got till 3:45, is that right? Oh, we're fine. I don't even have to rush then. So, customer reviews, really important. We all know that, right? Does anybody in here think reviews aren't important? I'm not even going to ask because then I'd have to heckle you and then you guys would all think I'm mean. Reviews help attract humans because we all know if somebody's going to buy a car, they're going to go look at your reviews to see if you're a shady mofo before they come buy a car from you, right? But reviews are really weighted in Google's algorithm. In fact, for the last 3 years when we do that local search ranking factor study, every year, reviews are a bigger and bigger chunk of the pie because they're getting more and more important. So you got to really pay attention to them. How many people, here's where I'm going to heckle somebody, but I'll heckle you as a group so it won't be too embarrassing. I'm not being mean. I'm trying to make a point, so I won't heckle too hard. Please put your hand up. Don't be scared if you have a testimonials page on your website. Come on, don't be shy. Let's throw them up so everybody can see. Right? And I know there's people in here that are scared to put their hands up because a lot of people have testimonials page. Guess what? That page is totally worthless. You know why? Because customers know you're only going to put the best of the best 5-star reviews that say how awesome you are. So they're not going to read them. Because who cares? They know that testimonials page is full of customers going, this guy's awesome. Customers want to read honest, unbiased reviews on third-party sites. So don't worry about that testimonials page. The only time a testimonials page has any value is if they're video testimonials, because people will watch video testimonials. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't still have a page on your site that says, hey, if you want to know what customers think about us, go read our reviews on Google, Bing, Yahoo, Facebook, eBay Motors, whatever it might be. You've got to have a solid reputation management process in place. There's a video here. If you guys are not asking every customer for a review and you're not making it easy for customers to leave a review, this is the most important slide in the entire presentation today. And you need to write that link down or take a picture of that slide so that you know that link later. This walks you through exactly what you need to do. And if I go too fast here and you want to get that link later, come find me at the expo. I'll just write it down for you. But basically, summing up that video, you have to make it easy. I couldn't say, hey man, thanks for buying that car today. I hope you're happy. Will you leave me a review on Google? And you're going to go, yeah, man, that's cool. Then he's going to go home. He's going to get distracted. He probably has every intention of leaving me that review, but by the time he gets home, he's not going to remember to do it. So what do a lot of dealers think? They go, hey, man, will you leave me a review on Google? And you go, yeah, sure. And I go, all right, cool. Here's where you go. Do it right now on your phone. Guess what? That gets you in trouble with Google because all your reviews come from your location. So what you want to do is make it easy. You want to, do I have that next? I don't have that next. What we like to do is set up a page on the site. So dealership.com/reviews. So every employee in the dealership knows where to send people that want to leave reviews. That page has a simple thank you message. Thanks for coming and buying a car from us today. Let us know how we did. You can leave us a review on one of these sites. And then you give them options. Google, Facebook, DealerRater if you use it, whatever review sites you want to go to. Then they can choose where they want to go, and you ask every single customer to do that. And then the video talks about how you can follow up with emails, you can print out little business cards, you can have QR codes in the dealership to help people do it. If you're not proactive, you're not going to get enough reviews. You want to get more reviews than your competitors because it's weighted, but you don't want to get too many more. A couple years back, I had a guy in Atlanta call me up and say, I need some help. First thing I did is I looked and I was like, holy hell, man, what are you doing with your reviews? Because he had about 4,000 reviews. If I look at all the other dealerships in the Atlanta market, the next closest guy had 1,000. Beyond that guy, The next closest person had 400 or 500. Most of the dealerships in town, both franchise and independent, had anywhere from 200 to 300 reviews. That dealership thought they were awesome, and they were legitimate reviews. They had a really good process in place. But the problem is, they weren't thinking about the optics of that. If you guys were a customer and you're going to buy a car in that market and you're going to multiple dealerships and looking at their reviews and everybody's in the range of 200 to 300, we're not worried about the score, we're worried about how many they have. If most people are in the range 200 to 300, maybe 400 or 500, and all of a sudden this guy's got 10 times as many, what do you think? That guy's faking reviews. They're not real. And you lose legitimacy because of that. So you don't want to have too many more. Now the thing is, we're talking about used car dealerships here. You're selling older vehicles. By the nature of that, you're probably going to get more bad reviews. Who's buy here, pay here? Anybody in here? You guys get great reviews, don't you? All the time. Your customers are always happy, aren't they? No, they're not. The older, there it is, the cheaper you skew, the older the car is, the higher mileage it is. What does that mean? It's an older vehicle. It's a machine. It's more likely to break down. Chances are you can have the best 500-point inspection on that vehicle, but if you're selling a car that's got 125,000 miles, chances are, even if it looks great when you sell it, a month later something's going to break and then that customer's going to come flame you. That doesn't mean you should be scared to ask for reviews. Don't stress out because you don't want a perfect 5.0 review score. I talk about in this video here how a lot of research has been done that shows that the ideal review score is actually 4.3 to 4.6 because the general public starts to distrust you if you have higher than a 4.6 because we all know nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes, and we all know that there's trolls out there and there's grumpy Gus's that are going to leave you a bad review. And if any guy in here, his name's Gus, I'm not talking about you. In fact, getting a couple of bad reviews makes you look legitimate because people realize you're a real business and they expect to see bad reviews. So it's not a bad thing. But you want to make sure that when you're responding to reviews, you respond to everything, not just the good reviews. Most dealerships only respond to the positive reviews. And then the other part of the group of dealerships, they'll only respond to the negatives and not to the positives. But Google will send the person that left a review a message that you responded if you respond to that review. And the people that are reading your reviews want to see that you care about all those reviews. So make sure you pay attention. Also, go watch this video because I talk about how if you get a bad review, you got to like take a breath and don't get into a flame war and answer when you're mad. And it's really funny because my face turns red and smoke pops out and it does the little cartoon whistle thing and it was like really hard. I do the editing, so it was really hard to do. So please like validate myself and my video editing skills and go watch that. If you get a negative review from somebody that wasn't a customer, businesses say this all the time. Most of the time, they don't really know who their customers are. We're car dealers. We know who our customers are. We've got their information. So when you get a bad review that's like, man, I went to buy a car there, and man, that guy screwed me over, and this sales guy sucks, and you look in your system, and you don't even know who the heck this person is, and you talk to the sales guy, he's like, I never talked to that guy. And you get that review, Google's probably not going to remove it. Unfortunately, it's a big problem. So what you got to do is leave a strategic response. This video walks you through it, and you basically say, hey, we searched our records. We don't see your name. We don't have any record of you ever even coming to the lot. If you're using a fake name because you're scared, it's cool, man. We want to make you happy, so let us know who you are, and we'll take care of the situation. What happens when customers read that? They go, oh, that's just a fake review. I'm not going to pay attention to it. So we're going to finish up talking about Google My Business. Man, I got 15 minutes left. We are so golden. We can talk about tattoos all you guys want when we're done. Google My Business is your new homepage. Most of you probably been in the business for a while. You remember when we all got online as car dealerships, right? What did everybody say? Your website's your digital showroom. It's the first impression you're going to make with people. You got to have an awesome website because it's no longer about what people see when they come to your lot and walk in your front door. It's about what they see on your website. But guess what? Google My Business is your new homepage. Google My Business is the first impression that you make with potential customers. Because guess what? They don't have to go to your website to get your phone number to call you anymore. They can get that on Google. They don't have to go to your website to get your address to figure out where you are to come see you. They can get that on Google. If I want to check out your dealership, see a couple pictures, I don't have to go to your website. I can get that on Google. Maybe I want to read some reviews. I don't have to go read that testimonials page. It only has perfect reviews. I can read real reviews on Google. Your first impression is your Google My Business. You got to pay attention to it. And so many people don't pay attention to their Google My Business listing. And your Google My Business listing is what allows you to show up in Google Maps. So that means your Google My Business listing, being well optimized, is what allows you to show up in that map pack that's at the top of the search results that you guys all want to show up in. So you want to make sure you fill out everything you could possibly fill out. If there's a field there, fill it out. Except don't fill out the one that says service area, because that doesn't mean anything and you're just wasting your time. But besides service area, fill out everything that you can. Do not add extra keywords to your dealership name. If my dealership was Gifford's Used Cars, I wouldn't say Gifford's Used Cars Best in Atlanta, because that will get me suspended by Google. Your business name in your Google My Business has to be your actual business name. You also need to be sure that when you have your website link, you add what's called UTM tracking. And I know most of you, how many people haven't, I'm not heckling on this one, how many people haven't heard of UTM tracking before? It's okay. I know there's people scared to raise their hands. Some people are kind of like halfway, they're like sitting there and they're like, my finger's up, I don't know this. UTM tracking will force Google Analytics to track traffic a certain way. The problem with the website link in Google My Business is Google Analytics does not track it correctly. If anybody searches on a mobile device, which go look at your Google Analytics, is probably at least half your traffic. If I click on the website link on Google My Business on my phone, in Google Analytics, it shows up as direct traffic. You've all been told that direct traffic means somebody clicked on a bookmark or typed in your URL. That's not true. Direct traffic means Google goes, I don't know where this is coming from. It's Google's black hole bucket. So when you use UTM tracking, that forces Google to attribute directly as organic traffic from Google. And better yet, in that video, I show you exactly what to put in there. And instead of saying that it's from Google, you're going to say it's from Google My Business. So now when you go into Google Analytics, you're going to see one set of traffic from Google. That's somebody that clicked in on regular search results. And you're going to see another set of traffic that's Google My Business traffic. That means somebody clicked on you in Google Maps, in the map pack, or they clicked on the website link when your Google My Business panel showed up to the side. So you get better data about where people are finding you. And it's okay to use a tracking number. As recently as 3 years ago, I was speaking at conferences telling people not to put a tracking number in Google My Business because it broke Google's algorithm. Google wanted to see a local area code, but Google fixed that. Now you can put a tracking number in. Go watch this video because it talks about how you can put your tracking number as the primary number, put your local number as the alternate. Man, I'm so on time. I thought I was going to be so late. Make sure you pick the right categories, too. I can't tell you how many used car dealers will only put used car dealer as their one category, and that's it. That's really bad. There's 10 category slots, and there's way more than 10 categories that you can put in those 10 slots. So I made a video about what categories car dealerships should use. So if you only have used car dealer, please go watch this video. You don't even have to watch the video. You can go to that URL, and I always put a transcript of the video, so you can just scroll down and read it in the text, and it shows you all the categories that you should put in there. So please pay attention to that. Now, if you're ever having problems with Google My Business, if you happen to get suspended, if information changes that you didn't change, if you can't get access because somebody had access that was a past employee and they won't let you in anymore and now you can't respond to your reviews, don't try to go to Google support. Google support is vastly understaffed because of COVID. It's going to take you months to get help if you get help at all. There is a forum that is a community forum. That's the Google My Business community forum. You can go create a post there. I created a short link because it's a really long URL. It's weird. It's a Google Help URL. This is not staffed by Google employees. This is staffed by volunteers of people that know how this stuff works, and they volunteer their time to come in and help business owners all over the world get help to their questions. Once you answer enough questions correctly, you get invited to be what's called a Google Product Expert. And once you're in the Product Expert program, if you continue to answer questions enough, you start getting raised to different levels. Once you get to be a gold or platinum level, you actually sign an NDA with Google. I am now a gold product expert, so I'm under an NDA with Google. I know all kinds of crazy shit that's coming out in the next 5 years that nobody else knows about, but we're not allowed to talk about it. But the cool thing is, we have weekly meetings with GMB's team, not the support team, the actual team that does Google My Business. So on this forum, if there's a problem that's definitely a bug or something wrong, us product experts can escalate that directly to the Google My Business team and get your stuff fixed. I helped a dealership 2 days ago that couldn't get a listing set up correctly, and it's now set up because I was able to escalate it. I'm not saying come to me. I mean, I could help you, but I'm just going to tell you, go to this link and put a post up. So if you ever have problems, go there. Photos. Customers can upload a photo from their iPhone, and it's going to show up on your Google My Business, and it's annoying. So make sure you're uploading photos that are professional, high-resolution photos. Google tends to prefer those, and it will show those more often. Make sure you're using Google Posts. Who in here is using Google Posts? Like 2 or 3 people. Google Posts are awesome. Please go watch this video. Moz is an SEO toolset company. They have a weekly video series called Whiteboard Friday. I did one a couple of months ago. This is about a 15-minute video all about Google Posts. I didn't have time to talk about this. I knew I was going to run out. So go watch it. But the most important thing is Google Posts are basically free visual ads that show up in search results. They show up at the bottom of your profile on desktop, but on mobile, they're just mixed in with the search results. Why would you not run free ads for your dealership, right? Don't post social fluff. Car dealers love to post the same junk that they post on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter on Google Posts. That does not work. The people seeing your Google posts haven't been to your website yet. They don't know you. They don't know anything about you. It needs to be promotional. Make sure you're posting something that's going to make them want to click through to your website. Social fluff doesn't work. And success has almost nothing to do with the 1,500 characters that you can write and the big image that you can load in, because nobody's going to see that if they don't click on the thumbnail. So you've got to make sure that your thumbnail is awesome, which means you've got compelling text in the couple of lines that you have and an awesome image. The problem is cropping is super wonky. And a lot of times you'll upload a picture of like the sweet F-150 King Ranch you're trying to sell, and the bottom half of the car gets cropped out. So it's super hard to do because it doesn't crop in the center and it doesn't crop consistently. So I created a Photoshop guide. You can download that Photoshop guide right there. The Photoshop guide, and I'm going to go fast because I'm almost out of time, so if you didn't write the link down, I will come back and show it to you. But it looks like this. It's a multi-layer file. Everything in the white grid is what's going to show up in the thumbnail. The full image is what shows up in the full post. And if you don't have Photoshop, there's a website called Photopea, PHOTOPEA.com. It's a free online version of Photoshop that this works in. Final, last bit. GMB questions and answers. How many people pay attention to the questions and answers on their Google My Business listing? Probably nobody, because most people don't know that it's there, and it's been there for 2.5 years. Here's like my horror movie part, even though I'm not talking about horror movies. This, actually, that's funny, because that actually is a horror movie on this slide. I swear that wasn't, I didn't even realize I did that. Anybody can ask your dealership a question, and any random person in the community can answer that question for you. That should terrify you, because customers think that it's an instant messaging system or a chat system. But what it really is a community discussion feature. So the really cool thing is you can ask your own questions. If you've got an FAQ section on your site, or you know the questions that customers are asking you all the time, go load it in to the GMB questions and answers section and then answer those questions. Because if I am a potential customer and I go to ask you a question and I start to type something in and that similar question has been asked and answered in the past, Google will give me the answer before I even finish typing the question. And guess what? Now I'm probably going to call your dealership because your competitors aren't doing that. So last bit here, it's me. We got to end on something fun. You want to see some fun examples of questions and answer stuff? Or no, we can just go straight to questions. You want to see the funny stuff? Somebody say yes, please. Thank you. So this first one here. Question. Hey, does your dealership have a phone number? Yeah, dude, it's literally an inch on the screen away from the button that you click to ask the question. But remember, they think it's instant messaging. But also, hey, dude, you can click the website link and go to my website to get my phone. But again, they think it's chat. And look at this. I have a Chevy Impala 2010 and it overheated. That's potential service business, and the dealership didn't answer. Bad stuff. Or this one for a dealership that says, hey, man, your website sucks. And somebody else answers, yeah, I'm not a fan of it either. So we all know that they were probably on dealer.com. Come on, that was funny. Now, actually, if a question isn't a question and it's a statement, if you hover over it, they'll have three vertical dots on the right side. You can click report, and Google will take that question down. So that's an example of something you could take down. So then, I was doing a thing for Chrysler in Austin. I like to pull local examples. I pulled this up. For those in the back that can't read, it's for South Point. The question is, do you have a body shop? The answer is, don't go here. Look at their reviews. I had a bad experience. They lie to you and everybody else. But the dealership answered, and when the dealership answers, it says owner. And guess what? The guy was in the room, and he was like, dude, I work there. And I'm like, man, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to embarrass you. He's like, no, what do? We grabbed 3 people in the front row, had them get on their phone, log into Google, go click thumbs up on his answer, boom. That answer shows up, because whichever answer has the most upvotes is the one that shows as primary. This was for a conference I did in Boston at the hotel. How are the room numbers ordered? This jackass says alphabetically. We laugh at that. Look at his picture. He's super smug. He's happy about that answer. And we laugh at that, but that's not good for potential customers of that hotel. That's why you have to pay attention. Last one we're going to look at. It's my favorite example ever. It has since been changed. This is for the London Eye, the big Ferris wheel on the Thames River. And it's smaller, but in the back, question is, do you have to wear a helmet? And the answer is, you don't have to, but you can if you wish. I believe Viking helmets are a popular choice. Again, we laugh, but that's not great for the business. So what you need to do is upload all your own questions and answer all your own questions, so it's a great pre-site FAQ experience. And I'm out of time, so thanks for taking that crazy ride with me. Now I have given you the keys to success when it comes to SEO, so when you're thinking about how your dealership shows up online, you're not going to want to go jump off a cliff, and now you'll be able to win the race to the top of Google search results. Thank you so much. That was the Fast and Furious guide to SEO for used car dealerships. There's my Twitter account. If you're on Twitter, follow me. I live tweet conferences. And if you have any questions, feel free to email them to me. I have an open email policy. I will answer anything that you ask. I will not try to sell you stuff. I may not answer quickly because I'm busy, but I will answer. And like I said, if you want the slides, just grab my email address or come find me later. I will give you the slides because at the end, you got a cool list of all the car movies. Thank you so much for paying attention and coming to listen to me today.